Hello, welcome back everybody to the Oceanic Pro League. My name is Julian Patriottime Card. Joining with me is Jake Spawn Tiberi. And what a great last game there between the Chiefs and Direwolves.
Yeah, really interesting game coming through. Once again, we see the Cogmore Tristana poke comp trying to push down turrets, but they let through the Alistair and they really made them pay the Chiefs with some hard engage. But some very good mechanics shown. Just an overall pretty high-level game of League of Legends.
Yeah, great stuff to watch. So the Direwolves not quite able to pull it out with perfection, probably notably on the bench there, but another really exciting game coming through. Immunity going to be taking on Sudden Fear, and Immunity on a win streak at this stage, beating Legacy in their last match.
Yeah, so they're able to take down Legacy, who once again ran that poke comp. T-Gun was the person that dismantled that on Morgana, and he had an absolute stellar performance coming through there. Immunity currently sitting 2-3, maybe not where we expected the veteran lineup to come through, but they have made some changes, noticeably in that bottom lane, being able to bring Denian in there. And it's a team that has started to look better. They haven't made any mistakes for themselves. Denian not playing today, so we'll have to see whether they can really get it together playing with a sub in Zenk.
Yeah, so Zenk going to be playing there instead. I have to say it's interesting to see what might happen there just because there seemed to be a lot of readjusting now that Denian was in the lineup. Ryu, remember, joined late last season there as well, so he was there late in the first, but it's taken a little while for Immunity to sort of get together, but looking like almost a new team, honestly, when they beat Legacy and looking themselves, I think, to pick up their third win in a row now.
Yeah, they looked fantastic when they beat Legacy, and they really did it comprehensively, and you could see that they were playing with much more confidence than we've seen so far this split. And I like the fact that you mentioned new team, because we've kind of seen the evolution of Immunity. They brought in Ryu, they tried to even out how they were off the field together. Now they're bringing in new players, and they're starting to play more like a cohesive unit. Unfortunately, with the speed bump of having to use a sub, we'll see whether they can keep the momentum rolling through.
Well, it was T-Gun, who's always very vocal on Twitter, was certainly assuring everyone that was not just a one-off there against Legacy. So they're out to prove it here against Sudden Fear, who honestly have plenty to prove themselves. You want to talk about changes, another team that's gone through quite a few as well.
Yeah, exactly right. Sudden Fear coming onto the Rift, unfortunately not able to pick up a win so far, and you know, they completely changed everything. The players that I like to point out in Sudden Fear are Robo Santa and Christmas Trees. To me, they're like the catalyst on the team. Shiny down in the bottom lane looks relatively consistent. He's had some good, his fluctuation isn't as big as the other two. Let's just say it that far. So Christmas Trees and Robo, I think if they step up and have solidly consistent performances, this Sudden Fear lineup will look much better than they're currently performing.
Yeah, and it has been their mid laner, and I guess their new top laner that has sort of struggled to adjust, as we are going to pop into Champs League now as well. Immunity on the blue side, Sudden Fear over on the red, and a Fizz ban will start us off.
Yeah, so maybe throwing into the top lane, maybe it's being played in the mid lane. Fizz, you kind of never know because he feels both roles relatively
Jungle,
well
maybe.
right now. Yeah, jungle.
Could go crazy there. As Kalista going to eat a ban. Pretty standard stuff, though. We saw Denian's Kalista, of course, in their win against Legacy. Zenk, of course, subbing in, but likely a Kalista player as well.
Yeah, you just can't not play Kalista at the moment. So strong. Also taking away the top lane Hecarim to Robo Santa, so he's getting a lot of respect bans coming through. I like it. I actually really enjoy when Immunity protect their top laner Ryu because he's a very good team fighting top laner, but does struggle in laning phase. So if you can get him on something like a Rumble, but then protect him in the laning phase, I actually think Ryu performs much better than people give him credit for. It's just when he does get picked on in that laning phase that he does seem to follow off. And, you know, credit to other teams because that's a definite tactic coming in. They do camp the heck out of Immunity's top lane.
They do. We've seen Ryu struggle, honestly, in quite a few lanes, but Cassiopeia going to be banned out there as well. Rek'Sai actually the other man there for Sudden Fear, so still standard stuff as, of course, Ryze going to eat the last ban.
Yeah, not surprised there. Red side going to ban Ryze.
Yep, don't want to let that one through. It's very, very scary.
Yeah, there's a reason he's getting a little tap.
Yep, just a little tap. Were you considering his options? I actually wouldn't mind the Rumble here just because Maokai's the only other big top laner open. I guess the Nar matchup's kind of a wash, but lots of options here for Immunity.
Yeah, there certainly is. They can also not give anything away and just lock in the Morgana for T-Gun. He had a fantastic performance on it, picked it up a couple of times. Deals relatively well with Alistair in lane especially. Doesn't really break through that black shield, so it's hard to get any CC down on a priority target. And T-Gun's just shown that he's at his best at the moment when he is playing that Morgana.
Yeah, really good at protecting AD carries. Denian, of course, very aggressive. Not playing today, of course, so might be a bit of a difference here for T-Gun. But, I mean, are you considering their next pick? Sorry, Soul Strikes, of course, also joining the lineup. Not really mid-season because they're still pretty early into the OPL, almost halfway through. But, you know, they've certainly been learning. A lot's changed on their roster. They were once a group of very veteran old friends, and now things are different. And of course, Gragas going to come through as the first pick.
Yeah, I actually missed this. The Rek'Sai ban was taken away, and that's what Soulstrike's picked up his couple of wins on. So I like the fact that he has gone to another similar champion in Gragas, can still get relatively aggressive, excel in those skirmishes, because to me, that's when Soulstrike's at his best. When he's able to mix it up in the 2v2, 3v3s, has very good target prioritization, pretty good gank paths as well. That's when I think, take it away from the 5v5, I didn't really like his Nunu when he brought it in, didn't get enough done early game. So I think definitely more of an aggressive jungler in the Gragas this time around will suit him well.
Yeah, actually, you said gank paths there. That was the biggest thing I took away from him last split when he was playing on Dive. So I completely agree. Give him more of an early game jungler, let him apply some more pressure as Sudden Fear. 20 seconds left. Hovering the Nunu that you just mentioned, obviously an option here, and they're going to pick it. Nunu Azir.
Yeah, Nunu Azir being taken away. Christmas Trees once again taking that into the mid lane. Saw it banned last week, on Monday, for it. This time being able to grab it, so staying aggressive in the mid lane, like it. However, right now, Immunity need to make a decision. Do they take the Jinx? Because if you let through Azir, Jinx, and Nunu, you've got that same zone control that the Chiefs just ran that's absolutely terrifying towards the mid and later part of the game.
And the other part of that comp for me, and the Chiefs really showed this in that game, it's just the threats. Like, the fact that Blood Bowl gets so much value on either carry means that when you have those two carries that are Nunu, you're just like, well, if you kill one of us, the other one's going to kill you.
Yeah, and the part of Blood Boil that people forget a lot of the times is the move speed. Like, the repositioning of Blood Boil is so invaluable when you want to be using your gap closer on Azir to get into the fight. Being able to move around the fight before you have to use the E is just, you cannot put a price on how much additional safety it gives you.
No, and you're pretty good against the aggressive junglers as well as Nunu. So being relatively popular as Ryu is going to take his Rumble once again in T-Gun. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Morgana once more.
Yeah, exactly right. Taking that one in there. So all of a sudden, they won't have one aspect of the zone. I expect them to go for something like a Maokai now in the top lane, Sudden Fear. Play it a little bit safer and try and get through that. Have at least one tanky member to join the Nunu in there. But so far, if they take the Jinx right now and run something like an Alistar, they've got a really good team fighting comp.
Yeah, I mean, they've got the comp we saw last game from the Chiefs, which pretty good as far as team comps go. We'll see what Sudden Fear want to settle on here. Immunity hiding their mid laner, of course. Cheese does like to get fairly late pick, and actually Zank, their new player, hiding his AD carry as well. So we'll see what they want to do to round out their draft. But Sudden Fear, a lot of things open to them here, but I think I agree. I don't know how I can get away from Jinx.
Yeah, so we'll have to see whether that does come through. Wow.
I mean, I haven't picked it yet, but that would be a lot of utility and really setting up for a big carry like Jinx, which is weird. It's what they pick, Lulu Janna, but that Jinx is still not picked yet.
Yeah, and you know, I actually think they're going for a Kog'Maw.
Yeah?
So I think that they've got enough disengage and peel right now, and I think Immunity think that as well, because T-Gun's hovering it. He's like, hey guys, I know what they're going to pick.
Yep.
Because, yeah, that is a really good protect the Kog'Maw comp. Azir kind of fills the role that Rumble used to fill in it in the top lane. He adds more damage, but also has a zone control ability through the Equalizer, but in Azir's case, through the Emperor's Divide, going to be able to shove people away. And the fact that if you add Blood Boil, Janna Shield, as well as Lulu Shield, that's just so much additional damage to go with all the attack speed he normally builds.
Haven't seen it in a while, but Juggernaut could be a thing that Sudden Fear, at least considering their picks, would at least indicate that that's where they want to go. Immunity, though, kind of thinking about a couple different carries. This would be adorable if they did it, just because it would block so many picks away from Sudden Fear. And to be perfectly honest, Kog'Maw being a flex pick almost in the mid lane now would make Sudden Fear's life very awkward in this situation.
Yeah, I definitely agree, because they're the two hyper carries you want to run with the Juggernaut or the Protect the AD carry comp, as it were. Instead, they take the AP Cog, and on the side of Sudden Fear now, you're in the zone of, do I pick the Sivir, who does a lot of AoE damage? Do I go what SKT generally run with their Protect the AD carry comp and go for mobility carry, something like a Lucian? You see Bang run Lulu Lucian a lot with Faker and Bangs over in LCK. So there definitely are attractive options, but nothing quite like the amount of damage that a Cog, that a Jinx will bring to a Protect the AD carry comp.
No, and really smart drafting from Immunity as a result. So I like the AP Cog. We're going to see Cheese on it for the first time, and Jinx just fine as far as late game carriers go. Sudden Fear going to take Tristana. It's probably the only carry they had left to take if they wanted to play something a bit more late game. And we look down, both comps pretty interesting.
Yeah, that kind of changes up the direction of the comp that Sudden Fear is going to go. Tristana peaks a lot earlier. Don't get me wrong, with all the shields, she will be much better late game than she currently is, just because of the damage augmentation. but they're much better at pushing turrets with Tristana now. All of a sudden, you've got Azir, Tristana, both very good turret pushers. So if you win any form of skirmish, you can just rush down a lane, tank it up with Nunu, and be able to kick through the front door. So it's got a little bit of a different feel, more zoning, skirmishing, and then trying to get objectives off it, whereas a brute force AD carry would have meant a lot of team fighting.
Yeah, it would have been. New Tristana especially, you mentioned that drop-off. The range sort of hurt a bit there. Much more single target now with how explosive charge works. But if rapid fire's on and you charge someone up, help picks, you can do a lot of damage to one target.
Yeah, you certainly can. You know, actually, Tristana reminds me now more of what Vayne is.
Yes.
Because you are very single target, because you have to hit the person with the explosive charge on to be able to do all that additional damage to get the cooldown of your Q down. Kind of a pseudo-hybrid between like a Kalista and a Vayne, like where you want to stack it up with that, get the shots off, and then you can go for the backline a little bit more easy.
Yeah, and still has that escape. Still has some of the things that a lot of Tristana players will remember, but for some reason, Tristana, we were kind of joking about it off air. Apparently, the new Oceanic mascot, everyone is playing this
Everyone
champion.
is playing it. And as I said, like either the Oceanic players know something or the rest of the world knows something. I don't know which way it is yet.
Well, we'll have to find out soon as you look through the team comps. And of course, get on Twitter and give us your thoughts about who you think is going to win the match as well. Use the hashtag #IamWin for Immunity or SFWin for Sudden Fear.
Yeah, and you know, both teams drafted very well. I think that Immunity kind of got the mind game blocking both the hyper carry picks down in the bottom lane. Sudden Fear, they hit back with that Tristana pickup that we've been highlighting so much, and I kind of like the feel of both comps. Very skirmish heavy, got some good poke on the side of Immunity. On the other side of the map, you've got a lot of steroids coming through to try and build up your two primary carries and get it done.
I think that's one of the coolest things about current drafting with Azir and Jinx and those sort of champions floating around is that as soon as you see Nunu, the jig's kind of up. You sort of already know what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly right. It's just like, especially with Azir in the meta so heavily right now, if you leave them up as a tandem, they're nearly guaranteed to go first round on the red side, because you're exactly right. Azir is scary enough. He's kind of poke without Nunu, and then you like get all this consistent damage. It means you can also circumvent the Stinger generally. You don't need it in your build. You can go straight for that Luden's Echo, which just gives you so much more mid-game damage. Really is a good augment pick. Nunu's kind of a facilitator in the current meta, that he unlocks a lot of good item pathing for both your AD carry as well as your mid laner.
Yeah, I like it a lot. And I think maybe the top lane is where to look to next. Ryu going to be back on that Rumble. Big comfort champion for this player who's played it. Probably, honestly, it's been his best-looking champion when we've seen him play.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, both in Split 1 of the OPL and in this one as well. But he's up against Lulu. I guess RoboSanta didn't want the awkward counter match or anti-counter matchup of self-counter matchup with the Maokai. They're going to take the utility instead.
Yeah, and you know, the fact that Lulu makes anyone a pseudo-tank like is good for teams that struggle and get caught out a little bit, which is what Sudden Fear kind of is at the moment. They do get caught in rotation, so I like the get out of jail free card that that's going to bring. But it's also a really good lane. It lane swaps very well. Lulu's always been a lane bully. The ranged auto attack is going to hurt Rumble early. Going to probably have to put another point in W. That's what Rumble's used to do to deal with the Lulu matchup. And I think that as long as he doesn't get ganked early and dove, which is what Lulu's always been really susceptible to, that should be a relatively good bully lane in the lineup for Robo. And that's his champion pool. He likes to play bullies.
Yeah, he does. I mean, we've seen his Hecarim, but he plays it fairly aggressively. Now going to be onto the Lulu with the Hecarim ban, so a bit different there. I guess mid lane we can go next. And we're starting to see quite a lot of this against Azir. People love to play poke into this mid laner. Haven't seen Avaris just yet in the mid lane, but we're starting to see quite a bit of Kog'Maw.
Yeah, and Kog'Maw is just such a cool pick right now, because you need half an item and then a completed item, being Tyr and Luden's.
Yep.
And job done.
Yep.
Like, you can honestly nearly not farm for the rest of the game as long as teams don't stack MR, and you're going to be completely fine. And Void Staff is a fantastic item on him, so cost efficient, because Pen's really good on Kog'Maw because it's his base damage that does a lot. You know, across the board, I'm glad we're starting to see Poke run into Azir, because he is very susceptible to it in the laning phase especially. You can shove back into him. You can also get a lot of damage done to him, because if he uses his E to get around the map, then he's very susceptible to Poke damage. So I think that teams are starting to figure out how to play against Azir, whereas week 2, week 1, we were just seeing it blind pick thoughtlessly because it was nearly unanswerable.
Yeah, and I think it's part of the reason why Cassiopeia is the only ban that people start putting out, because they're like, okay, haven't figured out Cassiopeia. Finally figured out Azir, though.
Yeah, Cassiopeia is a weird one like that, huh? She's very difficult to play against. It seems like a very straightforward. She's a short-range mage. She's very squishy, but none of that seems to matter right now.
I mean, she's so strong. I mean, we've seen the damage. We've seen the highlight reels. Plenty of good stuff going on for Cassio, so not going to see her this time around. I guess the bottom lane's the last place to go as you look through the lanes. Zank, of course, the sub-80 carry for immunity, so quite a lot of pressure here to give his team an undefeated week and, you know, apply more pressure and honestly get the win that T-Gun almost promised the fans on Twitter. I think he can do it. Jinx is a great champion here. But again, the Tristana's back, and I have no idea what this matchup looks like.
Yeah, exactly right. Trist actually shoves really well, so should be able to go into any 2v2 and just shove the lane out. But the important thing is if you get a lane swap, she kills turrets incredibly quickly. So if they do go into a 2v1, look for them to try and rotate 4 people down there and get that early gold advantage. It's what people have been trying to block against the Tristana because she is that good champion for getting you a 1-2,000 gold lead very early in the game.
And it's funny because traditionally that's what Jinx is good at. But of course she got changed recently with the minigun, which someone pointed out to me. So that option not there. We'll see what happens here at the early levels as Immunity and Sudden Fear will take to the Rift for their last game, actually, for each of them of the week here. Immunity, of course, a win against Legacy in this week. Would love to finish the week 2-0, but certainly with Denny not being here after a wonderful Kalista game last time, Immunity got plenty of work to do against Sudden Fear.
T-Gun spotting out the 5-man invade. They went for a 5-point here, Immunity. Sudden Fear, they ran in as 5 members. They've all been scouted out. So they will get the deep wards, but they're not going to get a kill like they would like.
Ooh, free gold for T-Gun there as well. Getting a Tormented Soil in and is collecting some gold there from the Spell Thief's Edge, but those wards will come through. There's one down at the Krogs. Pink Bomi going to line one up and take it there to check for vision of people coming to the bottom lane. Again, it looks like they're scouting for a lane swap. Immunity will trade the same vision with them back and forth. And Ryu, he's going to go back. Zenk's near the middle. Then we're going to have a bit of a game here.
Yeah, so Zenk was looking to see where they ran out of the jungle, and they didn't, so they're assuming that they're stealing a buff, but they reverse out the same way. I'm pretty sure they were spotted by a ward down there. Yes, they were. So lane swap coming through for both teams, although actually it looks like Zenk running down into the 2v2.
I think Shiny's actually hidden himself here because he snuck down the lane that nobody had warded. So if Immunity wanted a lane swap, they're not going to get it here. They'll actually spot them now in Sudden Fear. By the looks of things, are relatively comfortable with a 2v2. In fact, Shiny, he's just hanging out.
Yeah, and this is the thing about Tristana. Trades really well early game. As soon as you get that explosive shot and jump, you're a legit kill lane still. And as pointed out in the last game, Janna adds a BF sword to your damage.
Yep.
So you don't even need to go that first.
No, we saw the static shiv first from King in the last game there for Dials versus Chiefs. So Shiny and Patu going to take away the Gromp for themselves. Nunu's actually on the other side of the jungle, so starting Krugs into red by the looks of things. But no Krugs here done for Immunity. Sudden Fear going to start the bottom lane with an experience advantage.
Yeah, and it looks like a Pink Bowman wants to go for the blue steal, but Krugs is actually a really long hike away, and we'll see whether he gets there in time. He will.
He's running there. Soul Strikes does not have his smite after starting Gromp, so Pink Bowman's going to say, hi, how are you? Soul Strike's going to say, I was great. I'm not very good now. Pink Bowman's going to get the buff.
Yeah, so he's going to be 3 buffed here. Very hard for Gragas to respond to an invade. He sticks extremely well, but doesn't have the damage. And both mid lane was being pushed in, so Christmas Trees did his job to facilitate that because Cheese couldn't lead.
Smart stuff there from Christmas Trees, and Cogmore does take a little while to ramp up in the mid lane as Patu in the bottom side gets hit up by the Chompers, but Shiny, you can see the trade damage. They're level 2, and Shiny just out-traded Zenk.
Yeah, and the thing... Oh, wow, as he eats a bind.
Yeah, never mind. Maybe the trade's coming through as Shiny eats a bit more poke, but that explosive charge did a very legitimate amount of damage.
Yeah, it certainly did, and this is the thing. They traded onto a support, whereas Shiny traded onto Zenk, so much more important right now for Sudden Fear because they've got their potions still available on their AD carry, so he is effectively winning the health pool trade.
And I think, again, we were talking off air, trying to sort of figure out why is everyone playing Tristana? You mentioned to me one of the best champions to actually pick Tristana into is Kalista, who've seen a whole lot of bans. Why is that? Short range, trades well with the explosive charge. Kind of the same thing with Jinx in minigun form.
Yeah, it is very similar. So as long as they're willing to auto-attack you and you can auto-attack back, you will win trades with Tristana. The danger is if we start seeing like Corky come back,
yep.
it's just one auto-attack trades come through, she loses those pretty substantially.
Yeah, not so good in the burst department, but certainly auto-attack trades Tristana looks not too bad as we're still having Zenk pushing into the bottom side. Triss going to keep things comfortable though and just pull the creeps into the tower to try and last hit them as effectively as you can. Do have to be a little careful on Tristana.
Yeah, so Zenk actually shoved in, just tried to hold it for a freeze there. Sorry, Shiny tried to hold it for a freeze there. But Tristana pushes relatively well. You see right now, just through auto attacks, is pretty much out pushing. The reason they're winning the push is because of what T-Gun just did, and that's what I wanted to point out. T-Gun every single time is Wing the back line, making sure that it's always in Zeng's favor to just auto-attack it down.
Yep, and of course gets that free money when the Spell Thief procs there as well. So good stuff there going in the bottom side for Immunity. T-Gun again off to a great start on his Morgana. Cheese though sort of hanging out with the Crystal and Flask in the mid lane, just trying to keep things happy and farm away. You already said it, 1.5 item power spy for Kog'Maw and he's good to go.
Yeah, and the longer the lane stays uninteractive, I mean, like, Kog'Maw doesn't care if no one uses a spell. He just wants to farm all day. And honestly, like, it's very hard to shove him off farm because his ooze is really long range.
Yeah, and does a lot of damage as well if you start standing in it. So Christmas Trees will have to keep himself careful, even in the CS there in the mid side, as Pink Bomi can have a quick wander through the jungle, but just puts the ward down. No real buffs to take just yet.
And as we have another trade in the bottom,
yeah, Zank now in trouble. That charge again, contributing very meaningful trade damage.
So one of the reasons we're seeing more Kog'Maw is the lack of gap closers coming through in a lot of the cases. Like, if anyone runs headfirst into Kog'Maw this game, he does surprising amount of damage for a poke champion. With Ludens and the front-loaded burst that comes through from EQ and then one shot of his R, he really does have an all-in, like, one combo potential on a lot of squishy targets. So the longer people are willing to not run the Aurelias of the world that have these gap closers to get onto the Poke Mages, there's the real potential that Kog'Maw will take off as a pick in the mid lane because it's got both the poke element as well as a really good burst if you're able to line up the combo.
Yeah, it's one of those surprisingly good bursts for a poke champion, which is not something we always expect.
Which is why we saw Jace disappear.
Yes.
He used to do the same thing.
And now he's just actually disabled currently on live, sad times. But we'll move through as Pink Bomi going to take out the Wolf Camp as well. Checked in briefly with the top side, but Ryu and Robo Sanchez having a bit of a farm war there. And Soul Strike's going to take the crab away for himself. And looks like right now he's got quite a bit of farming going on.
Yeah, because of the Dorian shield pick up there, it means that not able to get the auto attack harass through that he needs right now. And Robo, he's not level 6, about to be dope.
Good equalizer there from Ryu. Soul Strike's coming too. Flash Body Slam moves through. And Ryu a very easy first blood.
And Ryu is really benefiting from having Soul Strikes on the team. An aggressive jungler this time around, willing to get in his lane and really try and get him ahead. And once again, you saw he already had a CS advantage. Now Robo's going to lose half that creep wave to the turret. Just a fantastic gank from Soul Strike.
It was indeed, as Pink Bomi comes in to recover some of the CS. Robo Sansa forced to use his teleport just to push the wave back off his tower. And a great ult timing there for Rumble. Really smart time to call your jungler up as well. And now finally, with the junglers in the top side, Shiny and Partu pushing back in the bottom lane.
But all of a sudden, there's a teleport advantage for Immunity. That means that Dragon a real potential to come through here. We always talk about Rumble's level 6. As soon as that ultimate's back off cooldown, expect them to go down and try and fight for that buff, which is really against Nunu's favor because Nunu, great at securing objectives, wants to be that jungler that pulls you off Dragon.
Yeah, but sort of has to be in that position. Don't want to get rumbled. We've seen many, many a time around a Dragon fight that not going well. And Ryu, I also love what he's doing with his item build here. So I know you're a big fan of this item currently, but he's actually going Abyssal Scepter first by the looks of things.
Yeah, and the reason behind it is you've got Lulu, you've got Nunu, and you've got Azir. All of the champions on the top side of the map are going to be doing magic damage. So it's just a really cost-efficient item to pick up for defensive and offensive stats early.
And we already know that Rumbles do like to get their magic penetration early. Abyssal going to give you a decent amount of that anyway.
Yeah, and realistically, the lineup of Sudden Fear don't want to be targeting the Rumble, so there's very low risk of him getting into melee range and blown up. They want to be on the Jinx, they want to be on Cheese. The more time they prioritize in trying to take Ryu out, probably the better fight is going for Immunity right now. So in short range, he's going to be doing a lot of damage.
He is, and even going to be a little tankier from the Abyssal as well, as Partu actually got way too low in the bottom side. Shiny gets exhausted there, dives in, misses the jump. T-Gun takes out Partu, but Shiny still going in 1v2 trying to get a kill, but he's out of mana. Zank ults him in the face, and that's a kill for Immunity too, in fact.
Yeah, and what happened is T-Gun started walking forward because he knew he had level 6 on the way, so he just wanted to be as close as possible. In the end, they're able to win it 2-0 because Partu came back and ate a bind, but in the end, fantastic laning coming through from Immunity again, and this is something we weren't sure with the sub that they could pull off.
And you can see once more, Soul Strike's in the top side, speaking of nice laning, trying to get Ryu even further ahead, and Robo Santa, you just tell by the positioning, he's not very interested in walking forward.
Yeah, he wants nothing to do with this lane. They know that he's up there, so they will try and take Dragon, which is very risky. So we'll have to see whether they're able to pick up this first Dragon of Game 3.
Yeah, and don't forget as well, first Dragon, very important for a competition that we're running, so make sure you guys get in that Dragon death as Robo Santa in trouble. Ulti comes through, pops the Wild Growth though to keep himself safe. And you can see Lulu now going to get dove there. Ryu going to get the kill. There's Dragon going down. Sudden Fear will claim that, but another kill for Immunity.
Yeah, sick mechanics coming through from the Spectator, trying to go both at once.
Nails it.
Nails it.
Cheese now in a bit of trouble maybe as Christmas Trees gets aggressive, but still holds his ulti. Doesn't quite go all in, and a little out of mana there is poor Azir. And Cheese has a blue buff, going to keep relentlessly pushing through with this Cogmore. Charging up the tier, working towards the Luden. 4-0 already down a Dragon, but Immunity, they are flying high right now.
Yeah, they certainly are, and you know, the longer this game goes, the harder it's going to be for Sudden Fear to set up for Dragons anyway, so it doesn't really matter the first one goes down. Sure, the base stats are very nice, but right now you would take the 2,000 gold advantage over a single Dragon any day.
You would indeed, and you can look down some of the items. Not quite bought yet from Immunity, as Shiny actually was BF sold this time around. Just wants a little more raw auto attack damage, but Zeng going to put a beautiful set of chompers down. That's Shiny forced away. And again, the trade's coming through, and T-Gun always threatening.
Yeah, and Zenk is playing this lane incredibly well, zoning with abilities, making sure he's always matching T-Gun's aggression. Something that we maybe criticized Stenian for a couple of games, going a little bit more aggressive. He's definitely following T-Gun's lead right now, and T-Gun picking off exactly where he left off on Monday night, playing another terrific Morgana game.
I have to say, if I was a sub-AD carry, I'd probably trust T-Gun in this spot. He's been playing absolutely fantastically all week long. You said it. So we'll see if that continues. 75 to 77 CS, so fairly even. But mid lane, as we check back in, Cheese, he's so happy right now. All he has to do is farm. He's even got a CS lead.
Yeah, exactly right. That 0-0 score line. He's just going to be sitting there with a big grin on his face because, honestly, Cogmore right now has got probably the steepest power curve out of any mid lane champion. As soon as you get those two items that we keep speaking about, the tier as well as the Ludens, you feel like, because it coincides so well with level 11 generally as well, like the game just completely flips for you.
And it does. Ryu, you can see as well, almost got his Abyssal Scepter, so he's quite strong right now. If they sync up together, maybe even around that second Dragon that they might be looking at, Immunity's first, I suppose, Sunfury are going to struggle to try and pick a team fight. And they're already struggling a bit in the lanes with all the pressure that on either side of the map.
Welcome back to top lane.
Yeah, Robosanta in trouble. He closes it down once again. Wonderful ulti there. And Ryu, that's his third kill of the game.
That is a very scary rumble coming through on a Pink Bomi. He's trying to get aggressive. Needs to be careful because he has his ult sure, but that's just too much damage.
Yeah, he might get dove, but he is getting dive. Ryu going to come through. Gragas with the damage. Ulti turn there from Pink Bomi, but he's going to die. Ryu with a fourth kill. Soul Strikes tanks the turret just enough. And they're not going to get the top turret just yet, but Immunity will take the kills.
And you know, huge credit to Soul Strikes coming here, repeatedly ganking the one lane that you thought might be a little bit of a liability because it's a lane bully and Lulu against it. Gets up there, helps the Rumble out, who's going to have so much effect in this mid game, and all of a sudden, 14 CS as well as 4 kills. Ryu is huge.
Oh, T-Gun flash ulti there as well, looking for Partu maybe. Tristana flashes up. Partu actually maybe safe enough. Zenk going to come in for the damage. Good chompers lined up. T-Gun needs to nail a binding. Doesn't have it. Ulti out for Jinx. Does not get the kill, and Shiny will just fend them off.
Yeah, but double summoner spells used there from Shiny. He's got absolutely nothing to escape the next time that happens, even if he eats a stray bind. So once again, even more of the map right now going in Immunity's favor. And what the heck has happened to Immunity this week? They're looking like a terrific team. Coming into this struggling a little bit.
T-Gun, this is blinding there, unfortunately, after all the praise. As Zeng sets down the Chompers once more. Soul Strike's actually in the bottom side of the map, looking for a gank. But I think more importantly, Dragon, no, not quite up yet. Actually, just wanted a gank, did Soul Strike.
Yeah, it's still about 2.5 minutes away, Dragon. They will get another shot coming through there. They must be close to the Infinity Edge power spikes, which is what Jinx loves so much. We like talking about champions that do well with only one item power spikes. Jinx and Lucian, probably with Affinity Edge, are up there as the two strongest for me because of the minigun as well as the Light Slinger passive. Tristana uses it okay, but just doesn't have that attack speed steroid on demand like Jinx. She has the good Q, of course, but sometimes you have to hit the people that have the satchel on them, which just isn't a priority target.
No, that's more about your spells than your items. And I think I even like BF Pickaxe Berserker Greaves for Jinx, which is another fairly popular Jinx build. So lots of options here. Immunity going to be looking for this next Dragon that's up in a minute 35, but Sudden Fear trying to aggressively clear wards. Pink Bomi definitely navigates around those chompers as Partu does eat one. And they'll stay safe for now, but Cheese level 11 has his boo buff. Need to see Large Rod completed. Not quite at Ludens, but Immunity only getting scarier through this mid-game.
Yeah, they certainly are. One thing we will mention in Sudden Fear's favor right now is their jungler went Sightstone first. So they have a really good vision control over the bottom side of the map. They're going to know exactly where this Gragas is. Problem is, they didn't extend it to the top side, and he's back up there trying to dive Robo again.
You can see Robo, he's like, all right, I'm officially leaving the lane.
I would be bottom lane if I was Robo. I'd be like, we're shoving down a turret.
Just teleport there. I'm done. Checking out of the lane. Soul Strikes instead will steal away a Krog or two. Even puts a ward down just in case Robo walks back.
And you know, this is another really smart move coming through from Immunity because they took the turret. They've got a good recall timing now because Dragon's up in 45 seconds. So they're going to have the fed Rumble down in that bottom lane ready for the Dragon. You can see him walking down right now.
A subtle thing there as well is the minion positioning for Immunity when Rumble started walking back down was immaculate. So Lulu couldn't even go out to farm a couple safe minions, and once again, Ryu's not going to need to use that teleport. He's actually used his ulti, by the looks of things, trying to get a gank on the Christmas trees in the mid.
Yeah, so they were trying to pick up a kill. Maybe they don't have the exact timing on Dragon, although you think they must be pretty close. As Zank and T-Gun, they're a little bit low, and bottom turret took a lot of damage, so it's going to be retreated in mid.
Yep. Mid tower will go down. That's good news for Immunity. Going to open up more space for them to make plays. Don't have the Rumble ulti, but likely feel strong enough to fight around this Dragon despite all that. I mean, Zank's going to have to maybe be a bit healthier, but the Ludens has been completed for Kog'Maw. I'd be a bit worried if I was Immunity, but I think they should pull the trigger on this Dragon.
Wow, Soul Strike.
Oh my god, triple body slam knockup. Ulti onto 3 after the Q, and Ryu just comes in for cleanup duty. Shiny's already dead. Exhaust comes through. Ulti hits Pink Bomi as Robo Santa takes out Cheese, but Ryu, his 6th kill of the game as he takes out Janna for a double. And this duo here in the top side of the map, they've been doing work for Immunity.
Soul Strikes is absolutely smashing the map. The triple spells came through and everything. Got the body slam, got the barrel, and then the ultimate knocking all 3 backs. So, wow, they're able to pick up the Dragon for it as well. In the end, Immunity just playing the map incredibly well.
And again, it's that duo. It's the top lane and jungler that seem to have built so much synergy over the last week. Gragas ultimates in the lane have been spectacular. That was a body slam in the bottom side. Looked almost suicidal when he went in initially, but managed to make it work there with Ryu hanging out. And it's great stuff.
Yeah, and you know, you mentioned the top lane wave, and look at exactly where it is. Rumble goes up there, is able to grab that huge wave that was coming through.
Delicious.
Even more gold now in Ryu's back pocket just because of the minion wave positioning, and Immunity 6,000 gold the advantage at only 16 minutes in.
And a lot of that has to be on Rumble here as well, which is just awesome stuff for them to think about. We do have a quick pause here in the game. One of the players is just restarting his client due to a visual bug, I believe, so shouldn't be too much longer. But you know, the other thing I love about Abyssal Scepter specifically is that even though Rumble used his ulti to try and get a gank mid, he was still strong enough to fight around the Dragon Pit.
Yeah, exactly right. And when you get near a support, near an AD carry at that stage of the game, you're going to be nearly doing true damage with your boots, with the Abyssal Scepter coming through. And you just saw the Flame Spitter able to chunk everyone out when it was in that overheated. And when you pick up 2 kills like that, even if Cheese was like getting destroyed on the back of that team fight, was able to pick up the Dragon for it.
Yeah, just ridiculous stuff. I was going to watch this again.
Yeah, so 3-man knock up into the 3-man barrel and ultimate. And you know, from there, it was just all about Ryu's damage. You see how much work. That's just a Flame Spitter. He's not even hitting anything else on the back of that coming through and taking out. As we mentioned, Cheese was caught by Christmas trees, so good job from Sudden Fear to get something from it. But when there's a 6-0 Rumble rotating into your bottom lane, you're like, hang on a second, he didn't kill me, take him back top. Like, get him back in your side of the map.
I mean, it's funny because we've been talking about power spikes sort of all game long. We always talk about Rumble in the double pen items. It's Abyssal Sork this time, usually the Haunting Guy Sork. We talk about Kog'Maw, Luden's Echo, Tear of the Goddess. Tell me, Spawn, what happens when you kind of go very far past your power spike? Because Ryu, he has quite a lot of extra gold to spend this time around.
Yeah, and this is like the great thing about champions like that. We always talk about their power spike, and then they get exponentially stronger. It's just you don't see it that much. Myron in Korea is one of the biggest culprits for this. He'll pick up like death caps on his Rumble, and all of a sudden he's doing like ridiculous amounts of damage. Same can be said for Kog'Maw, same can be said for Rumble. They hit a threshold where they're good, and then anything past that is like bonus territory where they start becoming great. And you can see right now with Ryu, he is definitely in that zone because he's gone for a needlessly large rod.
Yeah, I mean, it could even be that death cap. Maybe Azoni's there as well. But whichever of the items it is, even if it was something silly like a Luden's Echo, he's going to be dishing out quite a lot of damage. As we can see, Speaking of items there as well, bottom side actually has Zenk and Shiny there with their Infinity Edges, so they're good to go as far as initial damage items goes, but you said it already, equal gold there, but the item a little bit more effective on the Jinx.
Yeah, it certainly is. And you know, right now she's got another Brawler's Glove, so just praying to Iron Jesus to see if he can get a crit in there in one of the lucky skirmishes, but Shiny was able to push through, pick up the turret, and you feel this is what Sudden Fear need to do. They need to get a turret objective advantage quickly to try and equalize some of these kills and minion deficits that they've had in the early game. Otherwise, it's just going to be way too hard to catch up.
Well, it's not coming in the top lane, I can tell you that much, because Robo Santa is freezing that lane as deep as he can in the top side, trying not to die to Ryu and Soul Strikes once again. We've seen 8 is completed as Soul Strikes goes in. Bomy's forced to flash out of the Gragas barrel, clearing the pink ward fairly aggressively. Christmas Tree somehow dukes that binding, but Cheese is coming in, needs to land an ulti, nails the last one. Ulti comes through for Jinx, because why not? And a kill there for Cheese, finally.
And we spoke about the amount of burst damage that comes out of Kog'Maw's combo. Christmas Trees just ate it. Like, every single bit he could possibly take, he took.
He did.
And he died.
Straight to the face. Yeah. And he died. He did die indeed. And Cheese even going to keep pushing the mid lane. Bottom side looks to be assaulted by Soul Strikes there as well. And Paul Robo Center, he can't catch a break here. It's not often we see Rumbles die, but we may get to see one this game.
Yeah, we certainly might. And you see Jinx tearing through the turret. Now that that added bonus armor is gone for a while now, going to be able to chunk those down nice and quickly. And Robo, unfortunately, he's just going to be relegated to cleaning minion waves the whole game. Never going to be able to go aggressive on what we said should be a lane bully.
It should, and he's got his 40% CDR. He is not useless in a team fight, especially given that he's level 11, thankfully, and does have the rank 2 ulti. But it's just going to be night and day as far as influence goes, because Rumble, when he goes in for that next shop, whatever Ryu decides that he wants to pick up from this stage onwards, he's going to destroy people. Of the 9 kills that Immunity have, Ryu has 6 of them.
Yeah, he's definitely really strong, and you know, that might actually play into Sudden Fear's favor, because when you've got a Protect the AD carry comp and there's no armor yet built up on the really fed person, there's a big chance that they group up, loot, misstep something, and then Kog'Maw takes over. Wow.
Yep, and then Kog'Maw takes over. That's not really in the Sudden Fear things I want to have happen this game book, but Ryu going to group with his team. Zenk, Cheese, and T-Gun all going to team up there as well, and a very strong 5-man siege unit will now be initiated.
Yeah, so what I was going to say is then Tristana will take over a team fight, but right now Cheese is taking over the game.
Jeez, Christmas Tree's in trouble. Ulti down, comes through as the Wild Growth hits in. Ulti actually misses as part 2. Tries to reset the fight with a Monsoon. Sudden Fear will hold on to their turret for now, but I don't know how much longer they can hold. And you've already seen the poke this Kog'Maw dishes out.
Yeah, and like, what did they use? Nothing. Just Cheese's combo coming through there and a body slam underneath the turret with an equalizer. On the other side of the rift, you have the Wild Growth flashes coming out. It's just going to be unrelenting right now.
Yep, and this turret tower's dead to make it 1 here for Immunity. So the 4th turret now gets captured by them. That's the first tier 2 turret that have managed to take themselves out. Dragon is back up in a minute 30, so teams might look to reset and contest for what will be either team's 2nd Dragon. But again, Rumble's going to go back and shop, and nobody's going to want to fight him.
Yeah, and this is what the Legacy as well as the Direwolves comp has been trying to do. They've been trying to set up for these poke situations where they can engage turrets, but both of them were beaten through very hard engage. T-Gun was playing it very well on Morgana. You saw last game, Ejim beat it with Alistair, being able to get onto it. Right now, Sudden Fear don't have an option to dive the backline, so they can't get near this Kog'Maw, who's repetitively chunking people out.
I mean, not to mention that Ryu's also doing plenty of damage. The double AP coming up big. Even Zenk respectable there as well. So Immunity going to go back, spend their gold, and then run to the Dragon. Cheese has an Archangel Star finished up right now. Looks like Zenk's working on a Phantom Dancer, actually finished Berserker Greaves after Zeal instead. And Ryu goes back, he's just got his zombies in a blue pot.
Yeah, he's the blue pot coming out. Wow, luxury build. He's just going to be able to run into it and absolutely delete Partu or Shiny. Like, there's no hope that they survive. Maybe Christmas Trees can position well and try and get away from it. But right now, Sudden Fear, they should probably just stall out the game, because the later it goes with a Protect the AD carry comp, the stronger they will get. But Immunity in the mid game with that double AP, with all the poke that we keep mentioning, if they land one Dark Binding, are just going to be able to take the team fight.
Yeah, the 6,000 gold that Immunity have, it's just one or more items on all of their relevant carries. So not quite enough here for Sudden Fear to contest. Soulstrike's actually positioning fairly aggressively, trying to look for a pick by the looks of things. Dragon is back up, a couple pings going out onto it, but Soulstrike's ever aggressive, really wants to kill us. Christmas trees, you better run.
Yeah, well, what they've done is they've rotated into the bottom lane, and Soulstrike's is just looking to see if he can chunk anyone over the wall. Very smart movement coming through there. Everyone has to take the long range, and now they get some free shots on the turret.
Binding hit there as well, I think onto Azir, but a big minion wave stacked up as well. Azir can have trouble clearing this up before the Sand Soldiers get set up. Lulu, though, able to help, so good wave clear from Sudden Fear. Going to keep this tower up, but with Cheese with having the blue buff here, they're just going to get eventually poked off the turret.
Yeah, you see they're already 2 members at half health. That's just Cheese firing that living artillery. Wow.
Ulti down as well. They're just trying to zone them off the turret. Find use of the cooldown. They're Immunity get their 5th turret of the game.
All of a sudden, they have to back completely. Immunity going to be able to sweep through the forest, take the dragon as well, so they're going to pick up their 2nd of the game. And they're playing this poke composition incredibly well because of the lack of hard engage. They're just not respecting Sudden Fear.
And it's sort of interesting because Immunity basically beat this comp earlier in the week, and now they're just like, you know what, that actually didn't look too bad, their Legacy. Well, guess we'll give this one a spin.
And as I said in the Immunity Legacy game, this is a really good comp. AP Kog'Maw right now is a one-man turret sieging unit. If you compare it with any AD carry that can chunk through turrets like a Tristana, like a Jinx, you're going to get work done in the mid game. And unfortunately, Sudden Fear just didn't get that hard engage you need to be able to counter it through. Unless this game goes super late and Tristana gets towards 3 items when she's going to be chunking people out, it's just too much of a risk to fight right now.
Yeah, I mean, Sudden Fear actually might have caught someone out here. T-Gun, though, has very good ward, so just a bait there from Soulstrike to Sudden Fear. Immediately clear out the ward that they realize must be there. Soulstrike's taking damage, relatively tanky, though, will body slam himself out to safety. Now Teleport going to come through, T-Gun's going to dive in, Robo Santa's made it in as well, but Ryu just going to make everybody run away. He doesn't even have his ultimate, he's melee mode Rumble right now.
Yeah, and he's just chasing people out of there, teleported in. Top wave is stacking up right now for Immunity, so the longer they keep this side of the forest clear, the better off they're going to be, because that is a huge minion wave, and it looks like they're just looking to get into position to take the last outer.
Yeah, nice and calculated here from IM. Just want to make sure they take out those turrets, and then maybe once that space is opened up, look for a Baron. But they've got the Kog'Maw. He doesn't have a blue buff right now, but Immunity, understandably, in no rush in this game.
Yeah, so they have this one window while Cheese's blue mana bar is still up to take it down, and it looks like they're trying to shove through.
Yeah, going in. Cheese eats a snowball. Pink Bomi actually ulting them off it. Chompers will go down. Bomi's going to take big poke there. Binding lands in as well. Ryu does have his ultimate back. Bomi almost dead. Cheese flashes out from Christmas Tree's ulti as they almost get him. And the ulti once again going to zone them off. No, not quite actually. Sudden Fear keeping the turret, but Shiny just gets chunked.
Yeah, he gets absolutely smacked on the back end of that. They do save their turret, so good repel there from Sudden Fear, but Immunity will go back, spend all of that gold they've been able to pick up, and Sudden Fear are doing the right thing. They need to sweep out. They just need to prolong this game, honestly, for another 10 minutes. Maybe then they can look for the team fight with a big Tristana. But right now, it just seems that they have no control over the map.
No, I mean, Robo Santa is building towards a death cap, so going to be finally strong at 2 items. Shiny, 1.5, almost 2. Needs to build in probably towards 3 or 3.5 for this Trist, but we'll go back and now spend a bit more gold. And even Christmas Trist probably has gold banked up, given that he's been working on Illudens for quite a while. So nothing but Baron to worry about right now. In fact, Bomi realizing this, going over toward it.
Yeah, the one thing I will say about Shiny is he's in the position where there's not going to be an incredible amount of armor. There's probably going to be a Zhonya's on top and then some armor on jungle, but no one else on Immunity is really going to prioritize it. So he gets the luxury of being able to go for that Blade of the Ruined King or the Bloodthirster next item, which means that his damage relative to power spikes is actually going to be incredibly high. So he maybe has that going in his favor, so maybe he only needs 3 items. But if they ever do get any armor on a priority target, he's in a pretty big hole.
I mean, he also has to not eat any of the poke, because that's the other problem here, is Immunity actually aggro the Baron. I think that was an accident, as Tegan going to take a bit of a tail whip there, coming through from Baron, who's very grumpy that he's been woken up. We look down, though. Rabadon's is done for Robo Santa, so it's sort of finally gotten to that point where Lulu is, hey guys, I'm useful, I'm ready to go. I don't know if Sudden Fear could pull the trigger right now, but like you said, they're buying time for themselves.
Yeah, and one thing that I like to point out about Robo is he actually sets up lanes really well. You can see bottom lane is pushing in favor of Immunity. I didn't catch whether it was Robo, but generally he is a person that sets up the lanes for the team. So that's in their favor, because if they can stall this top turret with Christmas Trees, who has yet to pick up his Luden, so lacking a little bit of wave clear, they will be... Oh, wow.
Yeah, Burmy grabbed up there again. Ryu coming in. She's actually, though, getting poked off on the other side. Good Sand Soldiers there from Azir.
And they're finally looking aggressive with this Triss comp.
Shiny, though, ate a Harpoon and lost about 25% health. Ryu, though, going to get chased out of the area. Christmas Trees eats a binding. Soul Strikes, gets the ulti. Finds Pink Burmy. Ulti moves in onto Christmas Trees. Doesn't quite kill him.
Whoa.
Equalizer down in the choke, though. And it's just poke after poke here for Immunity. Finally take out the front line there for Nunu. Shiny's forced a rocket jump away. And it's only one kill, but that's all they need.
Yeah, Shiny needs to be a little bit further up, to be honest. You see how big the shield was on him, and they didn't need to fight. Right now, look at bottom lane. There is an absolutely mammoth wave crashing into that turret. Probably would have taken it out. All they needed to do was poke them back, but they went a little bit too aggressive too early, and now they're going to lose top.
Smart stuff here, though, from Sudden Fear. Might get a tower trade just from the minions as Shiny trying to be a bit more aggressive and get some poke down, but the poke is certainly in Immunity's hands. They'll take out the last turret. Patu eats a binding. Ryu gonna dive straight in. Pops is on, is exhausted, and is still doing ridiculous damage, and she says, thank you very much. I'll clean that up now. Robo Santa getting aggressed on. Ulti misses from Kog'Maw. Zank flashes forward, though. Only needs one more auto. Does get blown back away, but Ryu, godlike, takes out the Triss. Robo will live, but still 2 kills to Immunity.
Yeah, but poor Cheese.
Ooh. Bomi actually gets the kill into Cheese. Yep, that is poor Cheese as Ryu gets himself a double. T-Gun dying in the chaos there as well. So a trade actually not bad for Sudden Fear.
Yeah, in the end it was a 4 for 2 because you got to remember Bomi went down before it all began. They didn't get bottom turret either, but they just didn't need to fight. This is the thing. Sudden Fear just need to be patient. Instead of giving up kills as well, they should have just forfeited the turret after they lost Bomi there. Still counted on the fact that bottom wave was shoving into that turret and they were getting some good damage down there. And honestly, they just need to trade more effectively because right now, Ryu's massive. You hope that eventually he will dip off because he's gone for a low item threshold build. You can see he's already 4 items through. And eventually, they will catch up in gold, but they're just playing the game a little bit too fast-paced.
I mean, if it's Rumble that might fall off just a bit from how efficient his build is, Kog'Maw's not going anywhere as far as the damage goes. Void Staff now completed for Cheese. I have to think Zank has items coming through fairly quickly as well. And even Soul Strikes getting tankier and tankier with that Cinderhawk and building on the tank items. Dragon is alive. Immunity might be looking for a fight. T-Gun with a flank finds a bind and part 2. Goodbye.
Yeah. He just gets burnt down by Ryu, who is legendary now, 9-0-2, having a fantastic Rumble game. But once again, this is something that they shouldn't be contesting. 3rd Dragon at 29 minutes into the game is not worth losing a member over. Still another 12 minutes from now that Immunity is going to be near Dragon number 5. They just need to bleed objectives for a little bit longer. Yeah,
and they are sort of trying to lose the minimum. Blue buff going to get taken away as well. Sudden Fear again can't contest this, so we're going to go over to Cheese by the looks of things, although Bomi thinks about a steal but can't quite get in range.
Yeah, so Cheese picking up the all-important blue on Kog'Maw. I would say that's actually more valuable right now than the Dragon coming through.
Yeah, I think so as well. You can see Zank level 13 chilling out there.
Yeah, and they're rotating top, trying to take out Robo, who might actually have to burn a teleport to get out of there. He does pick up the turret, but he has to run really quickly. Yeah,
Whimsy's away already as he takes out the turret, so it gives the team a little bit more gold. Immunity, though, I think have their sights on this Baron. Scuttlecrab is currently in control of Sudden Fear. But Immunity just, again, trying to open up more room, keep Sudden Fear pushed back, and they'll do reasonable Baron damage, I think, when they get on top of it.
Yeah, they certainly will. They'll be able to chunk through that. They have relatively good Baron damage coming through. Jinx just really does well against Baron anyway. Robo gets to eat a huge minion wave in the bottom lane, but Baron is a real objective right now. They need to be careful it doesn't get snuck.
I feel like Kog'Maw, AP Kog'Maw, sorry, is interesting against Baron. Obviously, AD Kog'Maw's quite good, but I don't know. Kind of curious to me.
Yeah, his auto attacks are okay.
Yeah, only when W's on. They're pretty awful apart from that. As Immunity will start the Baron now, and Sudden Fear actually have T-Gun just waiting to snipe. Somebody's hanging out casually on top of Ward, but he doesn't know that right now. We're going to throw some bindings out, trying to look for some stragglers, but Sudden Fear, I think smartly just not going to check the pit.
Yeah, I completely agree. Just don't go near Immunity for now. Try and wave clear. You've got a Luden's Echo on your mid laner. He's going to wave clear relatively well. And as long as you're not taking a huge amount of pokes before they even get to your turret, you should be able to, with Shiny, with Robo. Oh, wow.
Yeah, Soul Strike's going in, finds Christmas Trees, who gets Wild Growth and flashes out. T-Gun, a little too far forward, taking damage. Bomi, though, shredded down to Christmas Trees. Good ulti moving them back in, but Shiny needs to hit onto some targets. Getting a Greston takes so much damage from the poke, and Zenk with the cleanup. And that's the key kill they got. Immunity still alive. Zenk ripping through people now as 2-item Jinx. And Christmas Trees, he's in no man's land getting chased out by Aggro.
Yeah, and Cheese's target prioritization, taking out Shiny, who had the chance to clean up that fight, was just spot on. Now with Baron going to be able to push through.
Soul Strikes might be in trouble, but Inhibitor's already dead, so Greg is probably not too upset about what's happening. In fact, Christmas Trees might even get his back cancelled again here as Soul Strikes. Uh-oh. Doesn't see Christmas Trees hiding in the brush. Will again delay the timer. Actually, heal popped there by Zenk, I believe, to try and chase him out.
Cogmore might be able to snipe him.
Maybe. Just needs an R or two. Finds the first one. That damage was dumb, and he takes the snipe.
Yeah, the range coming through from Cogmore right there. That's why levels are so important on him. And Cheese cleaning up another kill. You know, with all the kills that Ryu's been able to pick up, getting them through the early game, it's definitely going to be Cheese who shuts the door on this one because he is huge at the moment.
He's massive as he takes another blue buff away. Robo Santa in that mid line, attempting to clear out the Baroned up minions, but super minions especially, not even the wave clear Lulu can clear that out efficiently. Shiny in the bottom trying to get a bit more fun, push that wave back down as well. And again, Sunfear of tools to try and do things here in the team fights, but when you're 10,000 gold behind, it kind of feels like your items don't do a whole lot.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't. And you know, I actually think Shiny right now needs like a QSS. Because he just needs some form of MR. The reason I say QSS over something like a Banshee's Veil, because he's going to get all this effective health from the shields. QSS a little bit cheaper, also going to help if he gets caught by a bind. But right now it just feels like even with the shields, he just doesn't have enough base resistance to get him through anything.
It seems to be the case here. We'll see what Shiny wants to opt to. His immunity going to pressure down the bottom side of the map. Already have the inhibitor in mid that they took out with a bit of a chase coming through. And Cheese again, just wrecking people under these turrets.
That was with the Janna shield on as well. It's just to the point right now where Cheese, if he hits anyone, they die.
Bomi again, you can see he's going to die by the looks of things. Soul Strikes dives in. Mikhails gets used. Ulti comes through on the Bomi from Jinx, and Soul Strike's going to get himself the kill. Frontline dead here, and Soul Strike's just going to hang out and go through. The base get Shiny. Locked down. 2-shot there by Cheese, and I am in complete control.
Yeah, they will roll through this one, be able to pick up the game.
T-Gun ulti's in there, pops his on his, but doesn't need it. And instead, they'll just break a couple more structures and look to end it.
Yeah, they're just looking to end. They're taking a lot of poke damage, though. Need to be careful.
Azir gets taken out. Ryu flushes forward. Zenk gets a kill onto Lulu. That's going to be 4 kills and 2 inhibs down on Cheese. And the rest of Immunity move in for the kill.
Yeah, so the aggression wins out in the end. Immunity with another fantastic performance will get a perfect week coming through and improve their record even further.
Very cool stuff there, Immunity. Amazing performance here to round out week number 3. And Cheese, the big man towards the end of it. But Soul Strikes and Ryu, we might have to start looking at this duo more often.
Yeah, and that was just incredibly coordinated up in the top lane. As I said, the other 2 lanes were neutral. The only real bully lane coming through was that Lulu, and it was camped relentlessly. Normally the treatment that Ryu gets from counterparts was returned in full favor that game.
It was. He must feel justice finally for all of those weeks in past OPL games, and a well-deserved camp there as well, because he did so much work in the early and mid-game with that gold.
Yeah, and the one thing I want to point out, he actually fell behind in farm because he grouped that much. He knew he was a strong member, and he just facilitated the mid-game and steered it through with rotating around the map, completely sacrificing all one-on-one pressure and just grouping up with his team and sieging really well.
Yeah, awesome stuff there coming through. But we are going to go to a quick break. But when we return, our final match of the evening, and it's a big one, will be here. Don't go too far away, because Avant are taking on Legacy.